Hello everybody, welcome back to Various Oddities Showcase. I hope you're having a nice day. And I have the wondrous joy of announcing that... Let's get away from the noisy birds a little bit there. I have the wondrous joy of announcing that Various Oddities version 5 has released, and what's more, Various Oddities version 5.1 has all released, which is a necessary post-release kind of bug-fixing patch, and consequently, you are now 100% able to run it. And hopefully the most egregious bugs have been squeezed out of it. I've added a few more things just to make absolutely certain. Oh, hello, Mr. Goldman, how are you doing? And the main things that we fixed up were that there was a bug related to sounds being reported in chat that was causing some crashes. There was a bug relating to coin purses being emptied when there wasn't actually anything in them to empty. And there was a few other, like, little things for the most part that have now been consequently fixed. So head over to CurseForge and download 5.1. It should be more stable than 5.0, and it should get rid of the bulk of issues that people have been reporting from that particular version. Onwards to that, though, we now have to look towards version 6, and that's not my responsibility. Okay, and version 6 is sort of being titled the Dimension kind of update, or the boss update, one of the two. I'm not sure exactly which one I've settled on just yet, but dimensions are a big feature in that particular version, and that is where our whale comes into it. That's where our whale gets added, so that we can have our nice little whale spaces and do with them whatever we should may. And there was a poll put out onto Twitter, which received a number of votes, but it was still about 2/3 correct either way. And that particular poll was whether or not we stay in 1.12 with the next updates, or we move to 1.14, the caveat being if we move to 1.14 that there was currently no way to retain any of our baubles. So if I just switch back to here, there's a lot of items that we've added with this new kind of adventure run. This it's called the dungeon update officially, but there's a lot of things in here that are baubles and require baubles to work. The coin purse itself is a bauble. There's a bunch of different items here that are magical and beneficial. There's the amulets, the bracers. There's all of the rings, of course, and there's so much more here that is dependent upon the code of baubles, but baubles hasn't had an update since January of this year, and it is still very much solidly in 1.12, and the reason we want to move to 1.14 is because of, well, we have our whales coming up, and our whales are going to benefit a lot from having much more active kind of ecosystems in the oceans. We also have things like the elemental plane of water, which will benefit significantly from having things like coral and whatnot. And also there are the foxes in 1.14. I'm naturally quite interested in the foxes. And so suffice to say that there's a lot of stuff in 1.14 and 1.13 that we would really benefit from having, but we wouldn't be able to have baubles with us, and I could implement a lot of things from 1.13 and 1.14 into a 1.12 mod. That's not something that's terribly unusual. That's something that Britannia, for instance, has done before in adding Prismarine via its mod, an earlier version than Prismarine actually occurred. But there are other things that I'm either not personally aware of how to code, or would be onerous to code and then remove later on. Swimming is the most obvious thing. Swimming and crouching are two things that we will benefit from a lot in moving forward into our next versions and such. So we are presently of the mind that we are going to be ditching baubles for the 1.14 releases moving forwards. I'm still going to be tinkering in 1.12, because if nothing else, I'm having a fair bit of trouble getting a 1.14 workspace to actually work. So, yay. All of the Forge documentation is out of date, so yeah. But once we get that going, then we can start to push out updates into the 1.14 mods kind of ecosystem, which will also be one of the very few mods actually in that ecosystem, so I'm hoping that that gives Various Oddities yet another big push. We haven't... I'm still honestly not 100% certain where we've gotten our popularity in this mod from, but, you know, any more that I can squeeze out, the better. But if Bulbils does manage to update for 1.14 ahead of an actual release for the next version, then hopefully we can incorporate it and we can move forwards quite happily with that as well. But for the time being, it looks like I'm going to be working without Bulbils for 1.14, so look forward to probably a lot of things breaking if you try to import a 1.12.2 Various Oddities world into a 1.14.4 Various Oddities kind of setting. But I thought I'd let you guys know that, and otherwise, go check out Various Oddities version 5.1. It's sweet. Bye!